Just three old friends sitting around the living room, you know, looking ahead to some man fights coming up at UFC 270, male or female, to be fair.
Two man spreaders. We're going to preview UFC 270.
The man in the damn hat, in the damn studio, where we win the damn awards.
You haven't thanked us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, look at me. You're welcome.
Real talk. Join our living room. Pull up on the couch. That's the great Chuck Mindenhall gets up on that ass.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello. Come on into our living room. UFC 270 is on the horizon. Saturday night, January 22nd, from the Honda Center in Anaheim, California. So you know your boys at Morning Combat, BCLT, and the extended third brother, Chuck Mindenhall, back on the couch in Jersey City, had to get together, hit you pregame preview style for all things undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. When Ciryl Gane brings his interim title against the y'all must have forgot, still king, Francis Ngannou. So like we always do here on MK Pregame Preview, Chuck, I don't know if you're ready for this. No punches pulled. We want to do this real talk.
Okay.
Like men do.
Look at that. 1 minute. People drinking at home, go ahead and take a drink.
Chuck, does this tie-dye MK shirt make me look fat, or is that just my dietary choices?
I think it is the angle.
All right. Good. Look, obviously, whether you guys agree or not that the interim title should be here, and I don't know how in God's name could you, right?
Yeah.
Believe in this, back this. It succeeds to some degree in making this feel pretty damn big, because Ngannou's the biggest destroyer and the baddest man on the planet, and is coming off that Stipe Miocic knockout to win the title, is going through such contract turmoil right now that we don't know if he's coming or going. And oh, by the way, Ciryl Gane might be the next big thing, as Luke Thomas predicted on this show. He would wear heavyweight gold before the end of the year. He already has, or at least part of it. How fired up are you on a fight that like casuals can bite down on? And also, this is what we live for. I'll go to you, Chuck. You're the guest first. Just you got to be feeling that adrenaline ahead of this.
I'm pretty excited it worked out, to be honest. But I think that the backstory in this one is fun, right? Like, because you have two guys who you have Ngannou basically no-selling Gane when they saw each other at the last event, and you have two guys who are probably at the top of their game. Gane is one of those guys who very quickly ascended the ranks to get to this spot. Ngannou being who he is and where he's at, I just feel like it's a classic sort of heavyweight matchup. You know what I mean? You get two guys who mean business. They have such a contrast of styles.
And the pro wrestling backstory, you can't overlook that. The ex-teammate thing, right?
Yes, for sure. And then so you get the backstory. I like it, man. And you know the other thing is, for the longest time we had a heavyweight division that had the familiar names: JDS, Cain Velasquez, and then we had guys like Verdum and Miocic and some guys like that who came through. This feels like the actual movement into a new direction. This feels to me like the new blood of the division, even though they've been around a little while. But Gane is a big-time threat. I feel like there's huge doubt on the fight. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, it could go a lot of different ways. So it's a fascinating heavyweight fight for me.
Luke,
I'm sorry, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
You know, something I want to get into shortly, but just this.
I did have one thought I wanted to share though about it, if I may, relevant to the first question you asked, which was, can I just tell you, I'm almost a little bit sad about the fight. I'm not sad about it, but let me just.
Can you keep your dark feelings?
I want to hear this.
Hear me out on this one, just a little bit, which is to say the following: you have to at least, whether you think that Gane is going to win or not, you have to at least entertain that possibility. It is a very real, plausible future. If that is true, and if it is true for the reasons that Gane has beaten literally all of the 10 previous opponents that he has had, which is that he has a dramatic technical leap and advancement over them, well, then you have to ask yourself a question if you're Francis, which is, what do you do with a guy who might be really, really hard to overcome if you want to sign another deal? How do you play? And by the way, he's 33, which is quite young for heavyweight, but now is a great time to make some kind of bold choice about what you want to do. I'm just saying, Francis Ngannou could have been something incredibly amazing, up to more than he already has been, which is pretty amazing. But he got sideways with the promotion, and now before it could really truly take off, this is his first title defense. It could all come apart, even if he does have some options down the line. Anyway, it just kind of makes me sad that
that's a potential.
That's a reality that we could be facing, and it's not
I'm just
in any way.
Getting it. I know that there's a lot of complicated issues about, does a win make make Ngannou automatic to stay with the UFC? Is a loss more likely to send him to free agency? There's a lot of heavy stuff going on beyond just the former teammates, but not really. But there is that sparring video that's out there that, doesn't mean a ton. I'm looking at it from this standpoint. The Francis Ngannou that beat Stipe Miocic in the rematch, we filmed a resume review, spoiler alert, on Francis Ngannou and went deep on this, but that version is the scariest motherfucker in the history of this sport. Was that a one-night aberration, or is that who Francis Ngannou is after a journey that has seen him get back-to-back losses at the time that he was supposed to be the next, MMA's answer to Mike Tyson, and then rebuild himself while being forced to sit out, fight once a year, fight with the promotion? Has this built a resolve in him that it doesn't even matter if Ciryl Gane is heavyweight fighter 3.0 and the newest machine we've ever seen? He might just get smashed on the way to us trying to find that out, because this guy Ngannou is.
You're a big believer in Ngannou.
This version, the guy who can stuff takedowns, the guy who might be able to transition to top position and start ground and pounding guys out of there, who also, by the way, the first mistake you make will knock you out cold. Yeah, this version.
Okay.
He's a damn superhero. Chuck, talk me into sobriety over this, please.
Well, I think Ciryl Gane is just such an adaptable fighter, too. He knows him, first of all, right? He's trained with Ngannou in the past. I think he kind of knows what to expect in there. The one thing about Gane, and we saw this even in his last fight, as a fight goes on, he gets more comfortable. He gets dialed in. He kind of calibrates his opponent. You start to see him switching stances, using his jab. I think he's just such a smart, cerebral guy.
He's an alien.
He stays
he's
out
a heavyweight alien, bro.
And he's not afraid to get on his bike and get the hell out of the way either. Like we've seen that in his last fight, where he'll kind of move out of the way, even if at the expense of a few boosts, to wait for his moment. I think it's going to be a chess match from his point of view early on. I don't think he's going to try to engage, right? He's going to try to drag this into the deeper water.
My question for UBC would be the Francis Ngannou who showed up against Stipe in the rematch, which we can all agree was impressive, is putting it mildly, right? That guy.
It's the most impressive I've ever been in the history of this earth.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty damn impressive. You'd be surprised.
That's
pretty
like
damn impressive.
your literal all-time moments.
That was probably the greatest moment of my life. No, and seriously, I was the most moved and most like, I need to recalculate everything. His ceiling, what a heavyweight could look like. This is literally the boss at the end of the video game in human form.
Fair enough. Fine. I won't really disagree with any of that. Does that guy on that night, that very guy, does he beat Ciryl Gane? That guy.
That's why, first of all, this fight is so great.
No. Do you think so? That guy on that night?
I do think that guy on that night. I don't think there's anybody that goes 5 rounds with that man on that night who has patience that you don't normally see in a slugger with that level of power, but has seemingly, in the very small sample sizes since the loss to Stipe Miocic and the weird one with Derek Lewis right after, has seemingly improved in all of the areas you can point at that. Okay, he may be able to knock out anybody on any given day, but what about the gas tank? What about the the IQ? What about the wrestling? I think he's filling all those spots in. He's with a great team. You talk
Gas
about
tank
Eric
one, I feel
Nixick
like.
and company like it's going out of style.
Yeah, I do.
He actually might be where, even if Ciryl Gane is an alien, and he is, we don't see heavyweights with this foot speed, with this game planning, with this stamina. It might not matter. That's why you love this fight, because casuals like this guy can bite down on it, right? I just started watching.
I'll tell you one thing though, if Francis Ngannou is that version, he goes right through Ciryl Gane. I mean, at that point, I feel like the UFC would have, if they're able to kind of retain him and figure this thing out, they would have the biggest heavyweight they've ever had. I think that he's on the cusp of really becoming that. He might already be that because he is a prototypical looking guy. He fits the part. He hits hard.
He's well liked.
Great
He's imposing.
backstory.
Great backstory. I feel like, yes, you're right. He's well liked. I feel like he checks all the boxes. But if he goes through like Ciryl Gane and this thing escalates to the next level, the sport hasn't had a guy who's like truly transcendent in a while. I feel like he'd be getting close.
Boy, wow. I mean,
You don't dig it, huh?
You think the MMA gods are going to be as gentle and as forgiving and as accommodating of our vision of things as this? Dude, they're going to come crashing down with the thunder of the expectations.
Looks like follow the path of my life, follow the trail. That happens every time.
No,
good
man,
things happen.
we never get the shit like that in
true.
MMA. Nothing like that ever works out until Bisping had to lose a fucking eye to get it. You know what I mean? You have to go to these incredible depths. It's insane because it's the most it's the most unforgiving. Dude, MMA is an unforgiving, shitty fucking game. It is. It's an unforgiving as shit. There's nothing.
Merciless.
It's absolutely merciless. There's no vision where it's like, oh, nice things worked for us. Nope.
Is it
when
possible?
it does, like with the Conor McGregor or something like that, it will spiral out of
Yeah,
control.
yeah. It's
eventually.
lightning in a bottle.
Let me ask you this weird question. Is it possible that we won't know it yet, but when they meet in Anaheim, when it's Ngannou and Gane, that we're watching the two greatest heavyweights of all time? We don't know it yet.
We don't know that.
But
Dude,
is it
Stipe,
possible?
Your, your Stipe disrespect is alarming.
It knows no boundaries. Yes.
I don't know, man.
Dude,
Back
why
in the
do
day,
why does he disrespect Stipe so much?
Yeah.
I'm not even like
I love
the
Stipe.
biggest.
I love Stipe.
I completely respect him. I'm not
don't
even
get him started on Anthony Smith.
I mean, I love Bisping too. Come on.
dude. Yeah, I was there when Anthony Smith got in his grill. That shit was awesome. Anyway, I don't know. I forgot what we were talking about because I've had.
I mean, the thing about drive-by shooting is sometimes the wrong person will catch a stray bullet, and that happened to Anthony Smith.
That is regrettable,
in the
you
battle
know?
of Luke versus Brian. You know, that's the history of that. All right, whether or not you want to bite down on the idea that maybe one day these will become the two greatest of all time, we know what makes Ngannou special. We know what this version of Ngannou, if that wasn't a one-fight aberration, this improved, battle-tested, mentally sound version of him. Gane is an alien, like we talked about. Is this potential to be an unsolvable style? If you're backing Gane to win this fight, is this going to be a fight that he wins only through one-way control of the fight, or can he win potentially a fight with great adversity? We don't know that about Ciryl Gane.
That's true. Well, we'll find out, I guess, if he's able to, put in some bad positions. I guess we will learn a lot about him. But I know one thing, just from watching the tape, and I know you do a lot of this type of thing, he is very smart in how he gets in and out of there. Against that 83-inch, reach that carries that kind of power, it'd be very, I think, part
Can he
of the
throw a
chess
no-hitter?
match.
You're
That's the
saying
thing.
he has to
That's the
throw a
thing.
no-hitter to
I want
win.
to see what he can do. It's like, what will he end up being able to do? I think he's the superior striker in terms of technique and all that stuff. How does he get it done? I'm really anxious to see what his game
25
plan.
minutes.
He does know Ngannou too. Let's not forget. I feel like if anybody's going to know the tendencies and all that stuff, it's going to be Gane.
Luke, can this man for 25 minutes not get knocked out?
Yes, but let's flip the script here a little bit. Here, what was the fight where you turned, and we were like, okay, Gane's for real? What was that fight?
Since I was late to the party, it was the
Volkov?
Volkov
Was it
fight.
Volkov for you? Did you catch?
I think it was Volkov that really, because
he
he had a
stepped up
couple.
his
He
offense,
looked
too.
great. He looked great in his first couple of fights. And I knew people who were way big on his hype train early on, but I think that was the fight for me.
Yeah, he didn't back down. He didn't sit on his lead. He was trying to finish Volkov the entire time. That was where I was like, oh, he can do all this stuff and this. That's where you got to take the L and be like, I was wrong. I didn't see what Luke saw, which I didn't think he could be that dynamic for that long against a dangerous guy. In the last few fights, he's really closed that chapter of doubt. Obviously, Ngannou's a different level of alien and freak himself, and that's why we're having this debate of can he survive 25 minutes against him. But Gane, boy, did he blow me away once I
Didn't
got
you guys
it.
say you did like a resume thing on Ngannou? Because isn't that like the curse? Aren't we like?
Yeah,
we brought
he
that
might
on him?
punch a hole right through that MMA curse, all right? Ngannou's
will
like,
see.
you're gonna put that
We
on
will
me?
see.
Yeah, I think that there is a slow recognition about how good Gane is that still is underway that I don't think folks have fully wrapped their head around. Gane is not winning. Granted, smaller sample size. We keep talking about this. Just 10 fights, right?
Yeah.
Total. Just 10 total fights. Not a lot. Undefeated, but not a lot. Nevertheless, what you see on him with the tape is that he has an abnormally good ability to judge distance. And when I say abnormal, I mean the amount of time it takes for him to essentially find where he needs to be. Is he does it extremely quickly. And he doesn't wait for openings. He creates them. Everything he does is on his terms. He will get hit. He will get hit. But the question is, will he get hit clean? Will he roll with things? Will he kind of absorb it knowing it's coming? Dude, everyone he's beaten the exact same way. He was just smarter than them, period. Sorry. His skill level is just another degree above there. And I think folks don't realize that because he doesn't sell himself. Fernando Lopez does some media, but has not exactly...
I like how people pegged him basically a submission guy too
Yeah.
early on. You know what I mean? Because he had a couple of submissions, and it's like, oh, that's what his specialty is.
and he
I don't
showed-
feel like people are talking about that
Yeah,
as
exactly.
much.
And some of his fights have been a low key, a little bit slow at times. I think that it's fair to say, like, if we don't judge him as an entertainment product, he's not the most entertaining, but he's obviously had some entertaining fights as well. But the point being is, I don't think folks understand what he's doing with his management of distance and his management of setups and how he achieves all this in this sort of system. It's well beyond what his peers do. His peers are not as sophisticated as that. And so for those reasons, he's he's going to start every fight with an advantage, period.
But you're saying he may not have to throw a perfect game in the end. He may be able to win this fight under
Define
different
perfect.
circumstances. Really, it's
I mean, I think if you
not
get hit,
getting hit.
if you get hit clean by Ngannou, it's probably curtains, right? Probably.
Yes. I mean, look, both Stipe and Curtis Blades in the first fight were able to delay the curtains, right? They were able to show you if you have equal size and will and a chin, you can buy some time. It's not that you're unscathed from taking those shots, but Gane's gonna have to show us a lot, whether that throws his game plan off, whether that crushes his gas tank. There's a lot of bad things that can happen when you get hit with concussive power and you don't actually go out.
He respects the power, though, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, we should just say it. I mean, obviously, dude, Francis has the dim mock, bro. I mean, he touches you once, and it's though you're into the land of wind and ghost. And yes, of course, Gane is going to be facing that threat at all times. I just mean to say, every interaction Gane is going to set up with Francis, it's going to be, if he executes, in general, it's going to be on his terms, meaning that the timing will be favorable, the distance will be favorable.
True.
And if he can repeat that over the course of time, you're in deep fucking trouble, man.
He's also very good at kind of just coming in with his legs a little more than some of the other guys. You know what I mean? Like using his legs. Because there's a little bit of a hesitation that it could be a boring fight if both guys are trying to be reactive.
Is he the Dominic Cruz of heavyweights, Ciryl Gane?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
He's a little bit more Robert Whittaker-ish, I would argue.
Okay. What
It's
happens?
weird. Like,
Chuck?
Robbie Whittaker gets a lot of respect for a lot of good reasons. He's extremely talented and successful.
Well-rounded.
And well-rounded. And, dude, he has been in blood and guts fights. Like, he has been in absolute fucking wars, and he has had his hand raised at him. So he has earned a certain amount of absolutely understandable respect. Gane is just styling on anyone who hasn't had foes quite like that stand up to him. But to me, there's a little bit of a... I mean, one is more of a blitzer than the other one. You know, there are some meaningful differences, but that kind of sort of cerebral reading and dismantling at distance with bouncing up and down vertically, that's what he does.
Most people who go 10 rounds with a prime Yoel Romero, they die. So that's a good thing. Chuck, when and if this fight goes to the ground, long term, who's got the advantage? When and if?
That's the big question for me. I can see a scenario where Francis Ngannou, if we're looking for wrinkles in his game or something that's going to make you like have an elevated idea of where he's at, is where he might be the guy leading some ground and pound in this type of fight. We will see, but I could see that scenario playing out. No, Ngannou.
Ngannou?
Yeah.
Interesting, okay.
I could see that scenario playing out, but I don't know. I feel like for the most part, this
You say ground and pound, you mean like with Gane flat on his back?
I mean,
or like
just
from
getting
turtle, or like.
I mean, at some point, just taking Gane down and then enacting some ground and pound and hurting him there. I could see that happening.
He weighs a lot. He's a heavy dude.
Who?
Ngannou.
Yeah, there'll be a 20-pound difference roughly between them, give or take.
He cut down for the Derek Lewis fight and tried out some type of slim downs, quicker feel. He abandoned that after that fight, and he's in full-on destroyer mode. If he can establish ground and pound, I mean, I think he wins this fight, and I think he's going to be largely unbeatable outside of the one punch anyone can get.
It's a fascinating fight no matter what,
but
man.
I do think, by the way, I think Ngannou will be a little bit lighter for this fight. A little bit. Not hugely. 5 pounds or something. A little bit slimmer.
Part of the drama is obviously like if he does go through him. There's so much to it. I love fights like this because you're like, what does the post-fight look like? You know, what's going to happen in the post-fight? These kind of fights that have all this loaded, there aren't too many guys in that spot who are on the verge of being sort of transcendent in the sport that are betting on themselves, like Ngannou is in this fight, essentially.
What's the big, sharp bet that we don't see coming that afterwards? Is it like Gane by stoppage?
Do you know what is the line? Does anybody know the line?
I don't.
Yeah, I knew it was fairly close early on.
I'll look it up as you talk amongst yourselves, all right?
Well, I think that the sharp...
As a side note, by the way, I missed the pornography we were able to watch last time.
On the rooftop?
Of the neighbors. I really
can't
miss.
see that from the
I really
living room
miss
here.
just having that as part of our breakdown. That was nice. That was a nice detour that we really enjoyed.
I feel like the sharp money's going to be on Gane, though. That's what I think, but we will see.
Hold on, well, he looks that up. How have you been otherwise?
Everything's been good, man.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, minus 120, Francis Ngannou.
There you go. So it's fairly...
Plus 102 Gane, more or less around
Plus
there.
102?
Yes.
For Gane? Wow.
So
that's
and that did, but we still have, I mean, I'm not sure when this will come out, but even late movement seems possible on this one.
Okay, but the
I think
natural
so.
reaction is, okay, well, Ngannou went through hell with Stipe for 5 rounds, taking big shots, and he was fine. If Ciryl Gane is able to take control of this fight like you sense is possible, but just completely pitch a one-sided, basically a perfect game, and just of dominance, of wearing out the gas tank, is a Gane stoppage potentially in play?
I think so. It's
a
heavyweights.
stoppage of Gane?
No, a Gane getting a
Stoppage.
stoppage win, which would be a big.
It would
sort of-
depend on the. Okay, so if you estimate that, okay, if you believe Gane will win, you will be believing he'll do it by this sort of system of striking he set up, right? So the question is, how much better is he than Ngannou? If you believe that, if the difference is minimal or just barely, then I don't think you will in any way see a stoppage. If it is significant, where he's able to really catch him clean, with wide openings, a stoppage is. Well, you know what? We don't talk about this. Francis has a fucking chin of steel too,
Yeah, that
man.
is true.
There's a lot to it. Heavyweights have landed on him and it doesn't do shit.
That's why I opened it by saying the natural reaction would be, well, hey, Stipe couldn't finish him and he's got big time power. But I wonder
Yeah.
if Gane has the potential, if everything goes his way and he's basically throwing a no hitter out there, if that search for Ngannou of trying to just land and hit something on someone that he can't hit, if that combines with the mental fatigue and actually sets him up in a way that, like, we didn't think Ali was going to knock out George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, right? Sort of that type of thing where I'm just getting one-sided dominance here. Forrest Griffin against Anderson Silva.
Is it
I
as
mean,
black
just
and white,
something like
though,
that.
as Ngannou early, Gane late? You know what I'm saying?
Ngannou early, Gane late. Yeah, probably. But I bet.
Unless Ngannou 2.0 is
Yeah,
this
I
sick
think
creature.
that's part of it.
Do you think? Well, your question is interesting, right? Because it's related to. It is at least somewhat related, especially since he's a heavyweight. It's a fair thing to ask. We obviously know Francis has just earth-shattering power. Does he have earth-shattering power in the fifth if
Right.
he goes that way?
Well, that's the
especially if
question.
he is tired.
Yes.
If he is tired, I don't know. If
I
he's
still
got that kind
think,
of power.
obviously, the plan for any heavyweight would be like, let's take him into the later rounds where we've seen that he's not as effective and see if we can work him over there.
But you know what?
That's something that Gane, I'm positive, has to be thinking about.
I have a pretty good feeling about Ngannou's chances, at least if not to win, certainly to shine, right? Because what was one thing we did see from the Stipe fight, dude? I keep saying this. You got to pay attention. There are fighters who kind of just sort of throw themselves once more into the breach and then just kind of joust with their opponents, and then through this accumulative process they find openings. And then there are a lot of other ones who just have a good ability to create openings on their terms.
Didn't Ngannou in
Yeah.
the first Stipe fight be able to do certain things? But he's just I think he emptied his gas tank out at the end of round one against Stipe.
He
Which is a
did.
different
Well, that's the
fighter,
other thing.
mentally
That is the-
Oh, it was
different
the
fighter,
patience.
game plan.
Yeah.
The
It's
patience is what I was talking
we
about,
don't
yeah.
know, like, to your point, if there's a 3, 4, or 5 round
Yeah.
version of Ngannou where he can adjust to stamina dumps, adjust to taking damage, and still deliver the boom.
The thing I was just trying to get at before I lost my way was just that Ngannou showed a lot of patience. He showed a lot of patience in the second fight with Stipe, where he was actively trying, but he wasn't like in the Rosenstruck fight. He was kind of just flailing a little bit, and there's been some other fights where he was kind of clashing with opponents and trading with them a little bit. This one, he was very sort of dedicatedly setting things
It's
up.
almost the first fight in which he opened a scenario that I can counter and finish these guys. That I don't need to, your point, create the openings or just ball right through them, which he really has had patience his entire career in ways that I didn't even remember until we rewatched some of those for resume review. But what do you think the second Stipe fight was really the first time that he fully executed the game plan? And it wasn't like I got to his chin before he got mine, or the other guy was scared and the first time he touched my power, he was gone. Do you think that was the first time he flipped it back on people? Because when you're that athletic and that powerful and scary, you obviously can cover up a lot of mistakes. Now that he's a guy that's been through the wars, a guy that's learned a lot, him executing a
turns
game
you on
plan
that
is just,
lesson.
it turns me on. It's the scariest thing ever.
Dude,
him
if
going
he would have knocked
southpaw.
out Stipe in 30 seconds, you'd be like, oh, right, Francis, right? That's what Francis
Yeah,
does. Francis
right.
knocks people the
No,
fuck
that's
out
true.
in 30 seconds.
Yes, you're
and
right.
dude, he took his time. And by the way, there was that fight went to the second round. Correct me if
Yes,
I'm wrong,
it
right?
did.
We're going to live into the second round. So you had a chance to go back to the stool.
Yeah.
You have a great team. They understand you well. This is a championship level fighter, high level championship level fighter. And he had a chance to come out there, and he ran into a left hook jab, and that was all she wrote. Dude, he executed in every phase. It was, is it the first time that he did that? I'm not so sure, but I can say this, dude, that was an excellent, thorough performance. That's what really got me. It was so thorough. It wasn't every dimension of the game, but it was several of them, and it was expertly executed all along the way.
All right,
It was
let's do what men
very
do.
good.
Let's put our name on the line. Nobody can see the future, but here's the deal. Yes, it's very possible that Ciryl Gane really is the next great heavyweight and that he has the style, resolve, gas tank, all that great stuff to do this against this version of Francis. He may be. It may be Ciryl Gane country the rest of the way. But if it's not, there's also this chance that this new Francis Ngannou, because he was able to redeem his only real UFC loss, right? I mean, Derek Lewis fight was weird, but his only real UFC loss was the Stipe one. he had the gift of being able to go back through Stipe to run it back in front of all our eyes and show how much he's improved and absolutely take that off his record. If he takes out Ciryl Gane and knocks him out, and then you're like, okay, let's get him Derek Lewis. Let's fill that spot. When you are someone like a Lennox Lewis who said, okay, I had 2 losses. Yeah, they were big knockout losses, but I went back and knocked those guys out in the rematch for the title. I swiped that clean. Francis Ngannou could be on a path towards like all-time greatness. Like I'm talking about the upper table, the one that Khabib sits at, John Jones, Anderson Silva. Oh, there's GSP. Oh, I think Fedor still got a chair at the end of this table. Remember that time Cormier sat at the table for a week? I'm telling you, as real as it could be that it could be gone, we also could be seeing the launch of the greatest, most destructive force in the history.
Especially if he takes
I'm
out
taking
John
that
Jones.
chance, and I'm picking this version of Ngannou by knockout. I say right around the second round, we're just going to go, holy shit.
I hope we get that kind of fight. Honestly, I just hope that there are moments where that's possible, or if the first couple rounds are going to have to exercise Ngannou's patience because nothing's happening. You know what I mean? Gane's making him kind of initiate, and he's not going to initiate himself. I just want to see that.
Okay, so let's say Francis wins the way you might imagine in this scenario, right? Like KO, amazing, fucking spectacular, holy shit, whatever. Last fight on his deal. So what do you do if you're Francis, BC? Like, what do you think he does here? Because everything you're saying is 1,000% true, but if he can't find some kind of workable arrangement with the UFC, what the fuck do you want to do?
You know how they say winning cures everything if you've got bad locker room, but hey, everybody's winning, so we just
Motherfucker, he's coming
suck
off
it
a
up.
list of wins.
winning.
That's
at
why.
this
But what
level,
else has Francis been doing but knocking everyone the fuck out?
He will have not only fulfilled his potential. If he knocks out Ciryl Gane, he will have like fully fulfilled it. Okay, I'm talking about him maybe going to the GOAT table if he does that. That, I believe, will have fixed the issues between them. Obviously, they have to pay him more than he has
That's gonna have to be the thing.
But they'll have to pay him more anyway because he will have fulfilled that guy. He is that guy. He's MMA's Mike Tyson if this happens. So
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
where
I
winning
think
is
he
going to
is.
keep everybody happy because they're going to have to and want to pay this
So
version
you
of him.
think he only leaves? Again, who the fuck knows, right? But you think he only leaves if he loses?
It's going to be interesting because Dana mentioned that he had that run-in with Francis where they ran into each other in Las Vegas at a restaurant, and the management team wasn't there, and Dana said, it's the first time I've had like a real get-through talk with him where we heard each other, and I understand. And, of course, Dana did the Dana thing of it's really his managers that are assholes, not him.
of
He's
course.
taking advice from the wrong people. I wonder if we know how much Francis wants to get paid and have a boxing match. We know there's a little back and forth with him and Tyson Fury, and Fury said, let's do the 4-round gloves. And I'm not saying any of us really care about that, but ESPN has Top Rank Boxing, and they also have UFC. Is it that far of a reach to say that?
You think Dana wants to do business with? Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
Is it that far of a reach?
Yeah, prick.
If they do the 4-ounce gloves, because Dana can get the rub of a Tyson Fury fight that's co-promoted by the
Dana
UFC.
White and Bob Arum making money together, which they kind of do as as combat sports entities in the ESPN Plus space. But I'm just saying, like, actively on an event together
you
is
imagine?
incomprehensible
But-
to me.
But you don't think Disney goes, we want that fight?
You're
The baddest man on the planet in both sports? You know what I'm saying?
You're 1,000% right. You're in everywhere. I can't see. Those guys have called each other the worst things you could ever call someone.
Yeah, but they're not as at each other's throats as you think. They're not. It's not like
Dude,
Oscar
what the
and Dana.
fuck are you talking
It's
about?
not like
Do
Oscar
you-
and Dana.
oh.
There's a little bit more of underlying respect, I think, for both of them. I think they publicly disrespect each other, and and obviously Bob for years have been like, MMA is a bunch of skinheads, watching skinheads with other skinheads there. You little
That'd be
prick,
top theater if
you
that
little
happens.
prick.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
I think when there's
He's
this
not a
much
young
money
man.
and it's the same family, my point of saying I think Ngannou's obviously a special case. I think they can get him with that. Even if he loses, I think they
It's
can get him with
possible.
that.
It's
It is
an
possible,
interesting
but-
hypothesis. I will say that it is certainly true. That does, in this crazy new world we live in, you certainly cannot dismiss the possibilities. Although, yeah. I mean, I don't
I just
know.
want to see
All right,
the
I
John
wanna hear
Jones-
your predictions
I
to
just
close.
want to see the John Jones fight if he wins.
Let's close this.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the John
Let's
Jones.
close this by
aspect.
talking about John Jones. But who do you think is going to win? Come on, man. Don't be that.
You know, man,
Don't be that bitch.
I have literally gone back and forth, but I think my ultimate pick is going to be Ngannou. I think he's going to get it done.
Wow.
I think it's going to come later, though, like 4th round. I think he will get a finish, but it'll be later in the fight.
Certainly I have genuine respect for Francis Ngannou. What he's done has been incredible. His coach Eric Nixick, I think, is perhaps. I mean, everyone knows he's talented. I don't think they quite understand how talented he is. and I think that he will make a strong account of himself. But I don't think. I would argue that the general MMA public doesn't fully grasp how talented Ciryl Gane is, and they're about to find out.
And when your shirt says "Get the Strap," is that like a S&M thing? Is that like a punishing your children type of thing, or is
Get the strap.
or is it more like put the belt on,
two-year-old.
or is it more like Aaron Rodgers with the what do they call that they call that something
Discount something.
the discount double check.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I mean, I was gonna reach for the low-hanging fruit of your mom jokes, but as you pointed out, it's not very fair because you couldn't do it back because that would be really in poor taste.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you, I'm not gonna make a your mom joke, but I'm thinking of a your mom joke.
Yeah, in 2022, that's great. Hey, you know what we haven't given a lot of attention to, and this is this co-main event, and it's for the flyweight championship, and it's a freaking trilogy. Before
We didn't talk about John Jones.
oh yeah, let's slip that
wanna
back
talk-
in. We have control over the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is John Jones facing the winner, short of them producing the best?
I
fight of all time?
honestly think the UFC would be foolish not to, but they were. I already feel like we should have seen this fight. Of course, John Jones dealing with his own problems as always, but I think that that's the biggest fight that could be made.
Francis Ngannou versus
Yeah,
John
if
Jones.
Francis wins, and especially if he goes right through
I
Gane.
agree with
Well,
you.
you think
I
the
think-
biggest fight is either the winner of this or just specifically
I think
Francis?
it's Ngannou.
If
Okay.
Ngannou wins and he fights Jones, does that beat Habib Connor, or do you need hatred to really fuel?
Say that again. If
Does Francis versus John Jones, the pay-per-view,
yep,
does it,
provided Francis wins this one.
provided Francis wins this one and Francis is everything we thought he was,
Yeah.
does that top the current record, which is what, 2.4 million
Something
for
like that,
UFC?
so roughly.
A buys of Connor versus Habib, which had
No,
so
I don't
many
think. I
elements.
don't. I don't think that it does. No.
Okay, but it's a huge fight. It's an amazing
is.
fight. Now I got to put you on the hot seat and ask you
All
a
right.
key question because you've
All right.
always been honest about fighters, about John Jones, really.
Yep. Oh well.
Is the
John Jones has
reason
been honest about you as
Yeah,
well. I
he
think,
loves
don't-
me. He
is
loves
the
me.
reason for John Jones's delay upon returning directly related to the idea of him going, oh shit, I watched Francis in the Stipe rematch. Why don't I wait to see if Ciryl Gane can beat him first? Because obviously, John attempting to play chess with Ciryl Gane for 5 rounds is an incredible fight and much more manageable than my heavyweight debut. Am I going to get flatlined by this freak of nature? How much is John just being smart and staying on the back a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the reasons why he hasn't exactly come back are probably a little complex, if not solely related to the fact that he's had complications in his personal life, which we're all certainly aware of at this point.
But he's
Just
2+
But
years away.
I think what you're ultimately getting at here is probably right, which is he looking at, you ever seen the kids with the jump ropes in the park? Is he looking at that and then waiting for the smoothest entry point? Yeah, I think
Waiting
he
for the
is.
fat kid to take
He's-
to
yeah,
do
I
the
could see
larger
that.
leaps,
I could
you
see
know?
And see what he's up against and make it. Dude, that's what. Listen, John Jones, whatever else you want to say about him, is a smart, talented, calculated fighter. He has high fight IQ. This is a guy who, in assessing opponents and in assessing times
Anderson
and when to
Silva
get
did
in,
it.
he is probably
You know?
going to try to time it. However, there is always the factor that he has poor risk management outside of the cage and is
Yeah.
So, Chuck,
always a
when
disaster.
that version of Ngannou emerged in the second Stipe fight, that was the first time I said to myself, maybe John Jones won't go
Right.
into heavyweight and just have instant success because there are
Right.
destroyers
Exactly.
at this level who can add this much wrinkle to their game that
I think John Jones likes to fight with Ngannou. To be quite, I think Gane is the tougher
Same.
fight. To be honest with
it
you,
is a tougher fight.
I
It's a
agree with
less,
that.
for
less
John's
likely to
career,
get
that's a
knocked
tougher
out, but
fight, dude. That's a very tough fight for him.
because the idea of John going to heavyweight, which I started thinking about back in like 2011, 2012, I remember saying,
Well, that's what
obviously
he's
he's
been
going to
talking
debut
about that
against
long.
Lesnar. It's
Yeah.
and that still could have happened up until like last year for all we know. But the idea was that he would be using quickness to outsmart a larger division in which they're slower and they don't wrestle a lot.
Yeah.
That has changed.
It's crazy too
a lot,
because
to a large degree.
so many of John Jones's recent fights have been against, I call them woodwork contenders, the people who aren't like really hyped, but they come up, they make it, and they get the meritocracy and they get their shot.
Sure.
They're not inspiring fights in terms of pay-per-views or in terms of imagination. He's always a favorite. In fact, when those guys show up, when Dominic Reyes gives him a fight, the surprise is like, whoa, this guy competed with him. He actually might have won, and that's why it's a story. What we haven't seen is just John Jones coming at somebody who's supposed to beat him. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is why it works. Now, he's fallen so far away from the hot spotlight that he was at before. I don't know where it'll be, but you feel like if they rev up the promo machine and they really got behind it and remind people how good John Jones is and what the perception of him has been and why he's bored with the contenders and all that stuff he's been doing and put him into the new weight class, you know what I mean? And then have Francis Ngannou, who's everything we've been talking about. I just think it's such an awesome setup. It's like you know, it's like when we used to talk about Fedor and guys like that you couldn't have. There was some partition that would block guys from fighting each other. But this is one of those moments where you're like, no, you don't have a partition.
No, we don't
you
have
could
any
put them
problem.
together.
I
And
do
it would
think.
work.
I do think, though. Again, I want to just say this. This is just, I keep bringing it up. Could be epically wrong. Again, Francis goes in there and touches him once, off switch, and there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But you need to also at least entertain the idea of a world. I'm warning you. It is plausible where Gane goes in there
100%.
and beats Francis relatively, not easily, but
Yeah.
gets it
I
done.
know.
And then goes in there and does the exact same thing against John Jones. I would pick.
You know how I know you're
I would
right?
pick,
Because
I
we're
would,
sitting here talking about the John Jones and Ngannou fight.
yeah,
You know,
I would
is
pick.
also-
I would pick Ciryl to beat John Jones
Yeah.
10 times.
There's
out of
also
10.
a world in which Ciryl Gane does that for 3 rounds and completely dominates and then still gets knocked out. By
It could, he could be.
Still
It could
a
be
world.
exactly like
That's
it was
true.
between
Part of
Sergio
why-
Pettis and Horiguchi.
Oh my God.
100%.
Part of why we love it so much. Final question on this fight to you: does the winner, regardless of who or what circumstance, call it John Jones?
Yeah, probably. Certainly, if Francis does it, no doubt about it.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. UFC will ask them to do it. I
Chuck,
guarantee.
let's put some love on this co-main event.
All right.
Flyweight championship. This division has been so fun in the post DJ and Cejudo's short run on top to maybe save the division. It's obviously going to be the champion, Brandon Moreno, Mexico's first and finest, against the former champ, Deiveson Figueiredo. Before we get into what this fight could be, and it could be fight of our lifetime for all we know. These guys do make fun stuff against one another, with the second one being surprisingly so one-sided. Does Figueiredo actually deserve this title opportunity?
I think so. But it's only, you know what is funny, because he had a string of finishes. And at that weight class, you think like, wow, man, this guy is actually something. He's going through these contenders or these guys that are high up. He's going through them in that way. And I think that, just given the way the first fight went, right, and then he gets work the second one, I still like the idea because I thought his reign was going to be a lot longer. I think that he was sort of primed as like, hey, this guy's kind of like the savage flyweight who's going to be here a while. He's got a really weird personality.
He does
like he's,
all interviews with no shirt and the dark sunglasses on. I love that.
he's just a different kind of guy. So, I mean, you're taking all of that from a promo package and all that. And I just think, why not do the trilogy at this point?
Okay. In the meritocracy world, it doesn't make a ton of sense. It's not like he was a
Yeah,
long-time reigning champion.
actively, let's state it. What is the case for the trilogy? What is the case?
Sales. Easy co-main event to put with whatever main event you want to, and in this case, the main event's great. You're going to get the fans.
Which
They're gonna carry it.
contenders are being screwed here? Pantoja?
I don't know. Askarov hasn't lost, and
Yeah.
I thought he should have been next in line
But
already.
he hasn't made a huge impact.
True.
Yeah.
And look, if it just comes down to Moreno could really be a star, and he's a star because he's got that Mexican style and that easily relatable boxing never give up
And
feel.
Moreno-Askarov had a really good fight down in Mexico City, too. It was-
Absolutely.
yeah.
So maybe they're thinking, okay, well, Figueiredo will bring the best out of Moreno, but he's probably got the edge on him. So let me ask you about that edge. The second fight shocked me how easily Brandon Moreno won. How much was that because Figueiredo was already a suspect in terms of can he make 125 consistently in the long
I
run?
think it has wrecked his body. To get, I mean, dude, when he gets down there, you see him on the scales. He's like dangerously lean. It's
Didn't he
unbelievable.
leave the hospital bed to beat the replacement opponent a couple fights ago?
Yeah, and he's had multiple.
Like he came
that is
from
a-
the
that is a
hospital.
good
Who
point.
was
Even
it,
in-
Perez? Was it the replacement?
He's been one of these.
Who was the replacement?
I forget,
Yeah.
but even in scenarios where he's made weight, there's been a lot of struggle to do it, and of course, there was the issue the first time he fought Benavidez and the whole nine there. So yeah, dude, that has absolutely wrecked him. But he's still a formidable competitor. What are we doing here?
We're talking
trying-
about.
he's trying to find the Perez,
We're talking about
right?
the guy. Who's the guy who filled in and Figueiredo defended this title?
Oh,
against
you're
him,
that
right?
in depth on it?
Yeah, I actually want to get facts right, including a guy who just fought for a UFC title. Like, I can't believe the three of us are striking out.
I feel
but
like the-
it was Alex Perez. And
Alex Perez, yes.
That was the one where he literally was like at a point of near death with the hard
Right.
weight cut and what do you have, pneumonia? I mean, he had
Yeah.
something crazy going on
Right.
with
It
an
is
illness,
true.
and he fought through that and fought like a badass and won.
No, I think it's more the story of the growth of Brandon Moreno. There is the clear. They just can't. When the guy like Figueiredo has just had, the guy like, I'll say this. What was so different about Brandon Moreno between the first and the second fight? Better energy, yes. Calmer, yes.
yeah.
Okay, all that. But dude, he just made a lot better decisions. Like, dude, he
Yeah.
just got way effing better in the gym.
Yes.
So there's an
He
accumulation
did.
issue certainly on the other side of the equation, but I just think it's a story of Brandon Moreno just getting so much better.
This could just be
Also-
savvy matchmaking in the end.
I think so,
He's
too.
got his number. The third fight's going to be
I
exciting.
think
but
that
it'll
it's
be,
more like that. I
Yeah.
think they do believe he's guys' number. I also think that the UFC.
You think that
I believe
Moreno's
that
camp?
I believe that
No,
Moreno's
UFC
camp.
believes
I believe
Moreno's
both.
gonna
Though
win.
honestly,
Oh, I see.
I think that the UFC is like. I think that they believe that he has Figueiredo's number. I think
Yep.
that they're banking on him going in there and winning. But
They
I also
looked at
think that the
field and
UFC.
thought the best
Yeah.
matchup was just doing this again. That's the best. That's the most exciting fight we can make right now.
As much as they want to downplay, and as much as maybe you say like, well, he doesn't have as much charisma as some of these guys, but being the first Mexican-born champion, being from Tijuana, and having that story, you know, like kind of coming up from 12 years old with his family, piñata makers, all this stuff.
Getting cut.
Yes, getting cut, coming back. I mean, nobody saw him coming through this whole process. So it's like, I feel like he is a big story. And also, the thing that they've wanted, that kind of Trojan horse, is that not to over-dramatize it, but they can maybe get that market lit up more. Because I felt like before with Cain Velasquez, it was sort of, they were kind of behind him, but not really. It was not like the same thing. You know what I mean?
The whole Cain Velasquez to Mexico thing.
That's what I mean.
didn't-
It was like it was
that
more
did
of
not
like
go the way it was
It was
supposed
more
to,
like
yeah.
trying to sell America on the idea that that Mexico was behind it. But I actually believe that Moreno has the
Dude,
thing.
and
to
also
kinda
we
do
were at the
this.
awards. Like this is true, just anecdotally. It's anecdotal, but it feels representative. Which is that, like, dude, wherever we went, people were like glad handing him, and
Yes.
they, like everyone like really.
And he was
clapped
funny.
for
He did like a
him.
skit in his
Dude,
expensive speech.
people
and-
fucking like
Hey man,
Brandon
I
Moreno.
was at the fight in Mexico City when he fought Askarov, and it was like a hero came
Look at
out.
you going
I
to
mean
Mexico City.
well, I was like the last good fight. That wasn't even a good fight card. That's the last fight card I went to, really. But the pop was amazing. It was like he was a hero. So I'm imagining that was just a fight night, and he was buried kind of.
He got
on
the Nate
card.
Diaz rub. Don't forget
Right.
that.
But
Yeah.
look, not only did Cain not have a personality, he doesn't fight in a Mexican American boxing
That's
style,
just a little-
which
that's
is
a little
really
strong. I
no,
mean,
but
no
that's the point
personality,
of
I
what
mean.
what they were trying to hook. Now they're putting it in Southern California, the home of like the Mexican American boxing fan. It's calculated. It makes
Yeah.
sense. This is going to be a war no matter what. The question is, will it be like boxing, where if two great fighters had a really fun first fight, second fight was really fun, but the younger fighter was more dominant and finished it, the third fight then will be the shortest of the three and the
Right.
most one-sided. That's what that is. But could Figueiredo change it? I don't know.
It's
Either
always weird in MMA how a guy just figures somebody out, like somebody who's just cruising on, and this other guy
Yeah,
comes
it's like,
on.
dude,
Dillashaw against the Baron.
Yeah, it's,
I
no,
know.
it's like it's like something is absolutely impossible
Yes.
until something where a guy comes in and just wrecks that idea, and you're
Like
like, what the
Dillashaw.
fuck?
All right.
You know?
Does the winner attract Henry Cejudo, or is he never fighting the flyweight again? Because he's obviously a big name star hovering over 3 divisions right now, threatening to parachute in and save a big event and become
Gosh,
champion
man,
again.
I feel like if he shows up, it'll be at featherweight. I feel like that's what he'll do. But I can see him at bantamweight. I just
I
can't
can see
it.
if
I
Peyote
don't-
Jan keeps putting it
Yeah,
on people.
I don't see him going back though to flyweight.
Peyote Jan.
I'm sorry.
Peyote
who
on?
is this?
Yeah, Peyote Jan. Yeah,
I mean, just
Pioche.
absolutely. Dude, he should kick you in the balls for that.
yeah, yeah. I don't think he actually
Dude,
likes
that
it, yeah.
reminds me of the we were in Vegas and walking around at the New York, and you saw Jan, and you're like,
Yes.
"Oh my God, it's Peter Jan!" You went up to him, said his full name,
That's
shook
the
his
thing
hand.
I'm referencing when I went up. We were like, hey, can we take a picture, bro? Because we were drunk
Dude.
and stuff. And he did not look happy to be there at
We
all.
rode the
You
roller
just
coaster.
spraying
We rode the
COVID
roller
on him.
coaster.
And I was
right
like,
after
yo,
that.
yo,
It was awesome.
and then Sterling was there. He was like right around the corner.
yes,
And
he
I was
was.
like, yo, Aljo, get that title, bro. He's like, I'm working on it. And look, he got that title.
Yeah,
You know?
it was that speech.
Right?
It was that.
I mean,
that
may have
pep
got
talk.
it under
It was that
scrutiny,
pep
you know.
talk.
Any other things to say about this flyweight title fight in terms of nothing?
The Henry Cejudo angle is a little bit interesting because Cejudo's story is, dude, he would be an interesting sell in Mexico. Like I don't know exactly to what extent the Mexican fans would embrace him, but
Especially against Moreno, you know what I'm
well, yeah, especially against Moreno. But you know, I think that they have welcomed him there before. He is completely fluent in
true.
Spanish, and you know he knows how to work a crowd too. Like
Okay, if you're UFC, do you overpay Cejudo to make 125 one last time in the hopes that in making it
But like, why would you use Henry to like potentially
to put over
stamp out
Moreno,
your
to cement Brandon Moreno as
when he's looking for some other potential 135 or even 145 opportunity? Would you want to use him to potentially snuff out Brandon Moreno
they don't want
as
him to
he's
go in
just
there-
growing in the market?
Because
right?
be honest, because of what GSP did to them by kind of lying, they don't want Cejudo who already retired out of nowhere when they weren't ready, giving up 2 divisions basically.
Right.
They don't want him to win the featherweight title and then be like, "Sorry guys, I'm out of here. Hey, anybody want to make a lightweight title bout with me?" You know, like they don't want that shit.
That is true.
So they could try to control the situation and say, "Okay, we'll still squeeze out what's left of his brand, which is a lot." And it's not that he couldn't win that fight, but that'd be a tough wake up. It's
gotta be bantamweight.
Yes.
Chuck, as we wind down here, I want to get your take. Luke and I had a little debate at Morning Combat about this. I care a lot about heavyweight Greg Hardy against Alexei Oleinik? Is it as simple as thinking that if Hardy opens the Bible and goes right to the book of Ezekiel, that he gets cut from the UFC after that?
I think so. I think it's ran its course. That would be 3 in a row, right? They keep putting him on
Greg
these
Hardy?
for Greg Hardy. There'd be 3 losses in a row.
Dude, he has been an inexplicable mainstay.
That's what I'm saying.
He can't.
Here he
I
is
don't
showing
get
up
it.
again. I feel like it's always with reluctance that we talk about him because it wasn't like he was this decorated. I know his backstory, but it wasn't even beyond that. He didn't have a decorated, sub, before the UFC
Yes.
type record. It's just like we've been paying attention to him in the UFC, always on these main cards.
Them putting him in there with Tuivasa last time out, which rightfully he got hammered because he's not on that level, was that UFC's way of kind of cashing him out. Like, okay, if he can beat this guy,
I
then
thought
we'll give him
so.
another chance.
I thought so.
And now they're fully just getting what's left.
Especially against a 44-year-old guy who, like you mentioned, Ezekiel. I mean, like.
I mean, still, look,
Yeah, but
let's give Hardy some credit. He's a one-round explosive offensive fighter, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He never turned the corner.
He is baffling to me, because there's been times where like he'll look, decent,
Going the distance against Volkov.
going the distance
Yeah.
against Volkov, look
Yeah,
decent,
sure,
like at
notice.
times inspired, at times
Yeah.
pedestrian, but somewhere around like commendable-ish. And then he'll have these performances. I forget which fight it was, but he had the first round where he was fucking electrifying. I was like, Jesus, he has made
I know.
huge improvements. And then that was the very next round where he completely crashed after he got taken down one time.
I know.
And then the whole shit collapsed. And you're like, what? How did you, where? I've never seen him be like either extremely hot or extremely cold or like kind of in the middle. Like he could never quite Goldilocks it. And then there's like the issues with like, oh, let's just get a fucking inhaler in the corner. Like, what?
It's all been weird.
You
man.
you got a veteran corner. Like, how the fuck? It's just the whole thing
He's
about him.
never
He's crazy.
really
And then the
embraced,
fouls.
embraced like so the second chance thing. He's never really played it in some way that was like endears him.
Dude, he
back.
was out there.
Like, it's just-
He was dude. When we were out there for what media day was that? We were out there for I forget which card.
Yeah.
He was parading. He's like, I want everyone to know I'm a.
That was Connor Dustin 3.
Yeah, he said, I pay my taxes. I'm a consistently voting Republican. I love Donald Trump. Everybody, listen to what I'm
God.
saying. I was like,
Well, that
okay.
should have
If you
helped
got
his
a
cause.
job, if you got $99, sign up for a loan.
That
That's what it
didn't make
sounds
him a
like,
fan
Luke.
favorite. I don't know what will.
Yeah.
No, but
I'm
like, no, he didn't. It's a hard spot to be in PR-wise from the beginning.
For sure.
It's a hard thing to tell anybody.
he's not moved the needle
even
at
if you've
all.
effed up
This whole thing
but
is
even
like-
if you've effed up royally, it's still hard to tell somebody you need to go in front of that camera and tell everybody that you've repented and that.
Right.
If
I
he didn't want to do
understand.
that,
The
that's
questions
fine.
about him before when he was fighting in January in Brooklyn of
Yeah.
2019 was, this is BS. But the responses were, let's see what he's got. Okay, saw it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it was
So
also
what now?
And there was this underlying sentiment from the fan base. Well, everybody just wants to see him get knocked out. Well, we've seen that a couple of times. There's really not really.
By
I
the
don't
way,
really
he
get
still
the,
might knock out Oleinik. He still might.
he-
yeah.
I think it's probably likely he knocks out Oleinik. Actually,
Likely, really? I think he gets Ezekiel the F.
Well,
off,
let me,
okay?
actually, you know what? Let me instantly take that back. I don't know what the fuck is likely.
Yeah, get the strap. Get the strap.
But
bro.
it
All
is
right.
it is plausible. Certainly, he is heavy-handed. He's quick. He's athletic. Obviously, he is well coached. He could beat Oleinik the first. That's
Quickly in
possible.
passing, what did we miss at UFC 270? Anything else you're looking forward to?
The Cody Stamann fight's the only other one on the main card. There's some decent names on the prelims, but honestly, this is one of those cards that's very top heavy. All the big action I think is on the top.
Rodolfo Vieira is like, I will not
That's a
get
good-
subbed again. I will
That's
not.
that's always compelling for me. But so going back to
Rodolfo Vieira is
Metamoris and watching.
certainly compelling, but hasn't quite had the growth that I'd hope. But we'll see.
Yeah.
It could be slow to the take, and then just sort of quietly bides his time, and then gets better, and all of a sudden he's late 30s. You're like, he's pretty good. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Or early 40s like us. And you're like, man, these guys, they should win an award or something.
Dude,
Real
I
talk.
can't believe Glover is
Like
our
Menden.
age. Glover is our age. and
Yeah,
beating
but
the
he's
fuck out of people.
Yeah, he would. He would.
boy.
Chuck Mindenhall, you don't live that far from Glover to show.
I live right down the street from him.
You guys should be hanging out, having beers.
I've hung out with him
You
a
never
little
invite
bit.
us over. You're
Have
never like,
you really?
you're
I
never
have,
like, bro,
actually.
yo, I got
And actually, he
Glover.
texted me and said he's back now. He was in Brazil, and he's like, when I get back, I want to hang out. So
get the
I'll
kids
send you
together, too?
photos. What's that?
You get the kids together and like wives and stuff?
No.
Just
no.
like
Dude, so
you
all
and-
right, tell the audience, just we can respect Glover here, but like,
He's like,
what's-
fuck Glover.
no, I'm saying, like, what's it like hanging out with him?
He's actually, because if you notice, like, he doesn't say a lot in the press, but he's, if you're drinking some beers with him,
he's chatty?
He gets a little more chatty.
Ooh.
He's
I bet
bright,
you
man.
I bet you, he'd be
He's
like,
cool.
He'd be
He
like,
seems like just one of the other guys, and then you realize you always have to keep remembering, like, dude, this guy just, you know, can knock you out.
Yeah,
you
it's like,
know?
dude, he'll help you like shovel your walk
Yeah.
if you have some snow, if you're elderly.
Yeah.
He'll also knock out your fucking son later.
Yeah,
He will knuckle
he's
that
a cool guy,
motherfucker
though, man.
into
He's
the
a cool
ground.
guy.
Trust me.
Wow.
Don't fuck with lovers.
I love
Sure.
raw and real UFC previews. That's what we bring to the show. Chuck Mindenhall
man.
joining the trio back in the Brotherhood. Should we follow you anywhere? Any projects you want to promote or anything?
It's not worth a follow.
Stop following this
My
guy
social
already.
feed sucks.
Your shit is terrible.
Listen to him on the. Hey, you're doing stuff with Helwani. We used
Yeah.
to be big enemies with him. Now
guys
we're all
had-
like
you guys had a
now
show
we're
with
all
him
like
last time.
bros, you know.
Yeah.
He even joined one of these one time.
I know.
It was
Last
the
time.
highest rated pregame preview. you know?
Yeah. Until this one.
Yeah, by the way, I think he talked shit about, and I think this, maybe if I get this wrong, if I'm wrong, Ariel will kill me for it, but I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. I think, you remember he was talking shit to your face
Yes.
when we were poolside about the whole shebang that we were doing with the dot cameras. I believe when he was talking about, because I think, you know, we were like, hey, did you see these previously or whatever? He had said, yes, he had seen them previously. And he was like, you know, and I think, you know, Chuck's numbers were poultry. Poultry, I think was the word. Like, they were not good.
Who said that?
Helwani
Wow,
talking
look at
shit.
you! Look at you playing,
Talking that shit.
trying to just wedge
Talking
in
that
between.
shit.
Yeah.
You think you have a friend?
Can't we
you
all
know?
be friends and make money together?
Well, he wasn't
What's
saying
this?
it so much about you as he was sort of like, it's my responsibility, so therefore I am the failure. He was talking shit to me, but he did.
Luke's just mad at Canadians because Bronstetter sent me some records for Christmas. You know, what a nice
yeah?
guy, you know?
Well, I mean,
He
you
sent
know.
Luke shit. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
It
you
was
know.
such a happy vibe to this show until the end.
For Chuck Mindenhall, that's Luke Thomas.
I don't
I'm
want your
Brian
fucking
Campbell.
records anyway, or his
Morning
records.
Combat every
I'm
live.
going to send you. You're
Monday,
coming to the
Wednesday,
Cannibal
Friday.
Corpse concert, you whore.
11 a.m.
You're
Eastern
a
on the
whore.
YouTubes. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy UFC 270 when it's heavyweight madness. Ciryl Gane brings that interim shit in there with Francis Ngannou, the real champion.
Oh God, please go.
Yeah. Real talk. Like men do.
Put that motherfucker on the
Shit.
short bus immediately.